God, that fresh air smell, especially after a fucking rain. It's so nice. It's insane. Who's ready? Good morning. Who's ready for some boom, baby, boom, rise and shine? Even on a cloudy, rainy day, we got all these yellow in these trees, and the autumn's changing, and so is the political landscape. And as it's been rainy, foggy, and gloomy, you know what I'm saying, full gray out, your boy Saint still fixated on watching Chinese military movements and talking about geopolitics and how hard it is to get a business to be successful and profitable and still have enough time to enjoy life, make life, and live life. You know, that's this morning's motivation. It's Saint's addiction. I'm out of weed, but I'm gonna keep on and proceed. That's what Saint's addiction's all about. So, man, thought about just going live more of the time, you know, just to get more viewers, because then I can get my 10,000 subs, and then I'm almost there to 2,000, and then that's what, a fifth of the way. That was a big climb, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, and then I'll be within range of getting Saints Giving and the fundraising going, and giving a 501c and making all these things possible, even when it's chilly and I've been sleeping, and who gives a shit, really? Nobody cares. They want action, they want drama, they want to watch people bleed. In our whole country, all these countries are in some sort of flux, you know? We have a situation where even the front wheels came off, and what do we know? How are we gonna get there, and what's it gonna be like when we do get there? That's a pre-prediction, you know? Sort of like in a relationship where you pre-predict that things are going to go bad, or your relationship doesn't exist or isn't going to go any further. It's that gloom and doom that everybody is fully aware of, where it's not a safe place in our minds, and it's not a safe place in the world, and all these things end up coming together and colliding into a situation where, fuck, I'm not even sleeping, or I'm oversleeping. The trees are falling, or at least the leaves from the trees. And I remember when they grew here, and now they're flying off 6 months later, half year of my life living in Finland and living abroad, and just trying to wrap my head around AI and INSEC and all these other things that take place. And it's not easy. We all have things that make us Japanesey lemon squeezy, and other things that are going to be difficult and call the best of us to get together and make something happen. This is just what life's about. It's a calling card, if you will. It's going to call you to action, and whether you take it or not will determine the trajectory of your life. It's one of those things where I keep saying action is the answer to regret. It just is the answer to regret. I like that, you know, action over regret. Being bold enough to take bold moves and go places where other people don't think that you could, and then get yourself to move is another one. To get off the couch or get out of the cyclical comfort zones that we all have, and say, okay, I'm going to do something with my life. I'm going to do something with my time. And I did. I went and moved my mountain, moved all these leaves into some brown, and watch my situations change. And watch each leaf fall from the tree, and watch me change with them every day. You know what I mean? And that's what ends up happening. How. That's my guy. Thumbs up from China. You know, and I don't think that people are that bad in China. I think they're more like crabs in a barrel that are only going to do what the powers tell them to do. They're not in position. Just like when people ask me who I voted for here in Finland, doesn't matter. I'm one of 350 million. So it's one of those things where they'd like to have a political conversation like they're talking to Trump directly through me, and I'm like, I didn't even vote for him. So what do you want me to say? And it's not going to change whatever our conversation takes place. It's just going to keep going in a perpetuity. And that's why I keep going live. I felt like I had a light, a message to send to the world, that every day I can connect with the world and put it out there. And then Lately I've just been more internally just working out and staying away from trouble and doing things that weren't going to get me arrested or deported or anything else that was of negativity. It's one of these things that we all have to be all that we can be. You know, we're all on borrowed time. No one knows when they're going to die. No one knows what's going to happen tomorrow. And for sure, days go by, whether it's sunshine or gloomy days or whatever the fuck takes place. It's all going to be part of our reality. So it's not like we all got to just wave a magic wand and say, okay, everything's just hunky-dory and start sunshine come out your ass. It doesn't work that way. In fact, most people don't even smile, even if you can see their thong the whole way. It's one of those things where we find it hard to be human on this planet. You know, I don't think it's ever been an easy process for any humans, whether you were a gladiator or a slave, whether you were a Roman emperor or a senator. You know, there's going to be struggles. There's going to be power struggles. Somebody's going to want your position and they'll probably kill you for it. You know, somebody's going to want your wealth or what they perceive to be your assets and be jealous of it. And then there's going to be people that you will never meet and have a whole experience around something you will never even get to see. Like I'm thinking like the Middle East or India or Africa or something to this extent. And of course it's going to be on deaf ears. We're going to be just like that, where we easily get in our heads and we don't think that everybody else has it so much easier, or that we forget how hard it is. You know, when I was watching my friend buy €2 water, or what was the other thing that they had, we were rinsing out the plastic cups. And my buddy's like, don't do that. We got 5,000 of them. And I'm like, but they're still plastic. They're still usable. I rinsed them. You can just rinse them out and get to use them again. They have extra life. And apparently that's not what they wanted. They didn't want that kind of recycling. They're like, you can just throw it away and just recycle everything. And that's what ends up happening. We have people that will waste not, want not, or people that think it's incalculable to even recycle small amounts. And then I'll have friends that get broke and then they're like, recycle everything. But when they're high on the horse, they'll just leave the cans that they're literally going to the store to replace and get another beer. So it's a lot of fear. It's a lot of misunderstanding. It's a situation that seems very gloomy and not so bright and shiny, and you're gonna have to balance those things together, you know, because this is part of life. It's the highs and the lows, the smiles and the frowns, the ups and the downs, and all of us are gonna have to experience them. How else are we gonna appreciate a very beautiful day? This looks like it's still not ready. And how else are we going to smile when our frown wants to wear the crown? It wants to be on top of our head and just talk about all the things inside of ourselves that's like not working or working against us or not in our favor, to something that is like possibly positivity. And I had an ex-friend, now I had to block him, come out of nowhere, ask me if I can hook him up with a girl with a date. And I'm like, what am I, a pimp? Next thing I know, he's like, you're bipolar. You're supposed to be Mr. Positivity, love and light. And I'm like, how are you going to bring me all this negativity? I've been over here for 6 months. You never talked to me. I asked you to take a place to stay, asked you a place to film. All these things fell to deaf ears. And all of a sudden you hit me up talking about, hey, find me a girl, even though I'm in a wheelchair and I'm a quadriplegic. It's your job to find me the love of my life. I'm like, I'm not a matchmaker. This isn't a dating site. It's not my job to find you a job, a girlfriend, or a purpose. That's not what I do. You know, your job, my job is just to inform you. And I don't even have a job. A job is just over broke. My purpose on this life is to live my own blessed life. I have no owing him. I don't owe you. I don't know you. And guess what? I can block you. And I did. I blocked him. I'm like coming at me all sideways with some shit, calling me bipolar because I'm like, what am I? You're a pimp? My job to find you a girl? And then you're going to get all mad in case I don't do what you want. And then you're already going to be that way. And I'm just like, peace out, bro. See, I'll leave you in your wheelchair. I will leave you with your son. When you didn't thank my mom for a meal. I will leave anybody that starts bringing me negativity that I didn't earn myself. It's one thing to be like, okay, I did something and I deserve my consequences and that's happening. But it's another to be blamed for something I didn't do. Ask my ex-girlfriend. I broke up with her and that's what ends up happening. Posse Pocket Challenge. So, you know, we can all be a certain type of way. We can all be weird if we want to be, or we can all be straight. I mean, it's really up to you and how you want to play it. But a lot of us, of course, we don't have it like that. We have our own consequences and our own determinations and stuff. So it's enough to miss the bus. Everybody's gonna have something that disturbs them or enlightens them. It's gonna be a balance. It's not like all these things are constantly on the upper level or constantly growing. We've watched Rome empires fall, and then we go and say, is America the next to fall? Are we the next to not be the superpower and the status quo? And what she believed into being people that believed in Roman laws, Christian values, and Greek philosophy. Those three things are what she considered the pillars. I think her name's Sarah Palin, something like that. Not the Sarah Palin, but something like that. She's a economist. She's not much to look at, but she's very smart. And, you know, those pillars that we hold true, that people can have not Sharia law, but Roman law, you know, where there is an arbitrator to the problem, and that you don't just get to just be the most powerful one and chop someone's head off, although that does tend to happen in our government system as Americans. They're, you know, someone has a better lawyer, so they get better treatment, or maybe they're more influential, so they don't get the same treatment. And, you know, all these things end up happening, and we know what it is. We know when we watching our president get a mugshot and become is he a convict? I don't know. Can we call our president a convict? But at least we can say that in America without having reprisals and someone come and capture us because we're trying to speak our own truth, or try to arrest reporters and these guys go into Siberia never to be seen again because they disagreed with whatever political power is in power at the moment. So, you know, we pride ourselves in having different views and not having somebody fucking tell us what to do. And those kind of freedoms are based off of a Greek philosophy, a Roman law, and Christian values. You go into other countries where they have Sharia law, and it's not okay for women to show their face or their skin, and maybe they are winning in the evolution of human beings because they say it's all about the chastity of women, and women want to be free and they want to throw their pussy around and do porn and make OnlyFans accounts, where at the same time we have dropping birth rates and people are forgetting their values, and things aren't happening the way that they should or way we want them to. And then it's the degradation or the downfall of civilization. People are watching this and they're just going like, yeah, those Americans, we don't want nothing to do with them. They're a bunch of degenerates. All they do is party and drink and gamble. And you're going to be like, why continue that civilization when we should be concentrating on semiconductors, higher education, higher production, and manufacturing of our own goods? We'll sit there and just going to be like, give me some Bud Light, bro, and I'm on the back of my boat. Well, that has to be earned as well. So it's just one of those things where it's a whole hodgepodge of a world with all these different perspectives and people that want to express themselves, and maybe violently or maybe even through war, that we want to be able to say, you know, I don't want to live that way. You know, I don't want somebody telling me under a police state or surveillance or facial recognition that I can't get a loan or can't get a certain position on a train or on a plane, or do something that I want to do with my life would be interrupted by a government state and tell you can't do that, you can't wear that, you can't say that, and you can't do that. I can't imagine living in a world like that, where I mostly feel free here in Finland, even though I'll be keeping it low key after the police wanted to bust me for smoking weed in the park. I don't want to be deported. I want to be exalted and free to live my life under my own wants and needs, and not somebody else telling me what's available or what's okay or when I can. You know what I mean? So it's a juxtaposition of life. You know, there's power shifting as we speak. I literally saw like a glitch in the matrix when Xi Jinping was speaking and saying he wasn't going to get bullied by outside enemies. And it was just like, oh, fuck, bro. They're drumming up again. This is World War III. This is how it happened last time. And they don't build these things just to have them sit on the sidelines. You know what I mean? Those missiles are meant to be used. And if we can We're going to try to stop them from abusing the rest of the world. And then, of course, it's a proxy war because other smaller nations that we fight through, like Ukraine and Russia, it becomes a flashpoint. It could be Venezuela, it could be Taiwan, hell, it could be Korea. So it's one of these things that we try to be the world police. We anticipated this or took it away from the British, who was just like the sun never sets on our government or on our empire. And now all of a sudden there's a lot of settings going on, and there's a lot of forgettings going on of just how hard it is to maintain the peace around the world. And it doesn't matter if you have the biggest stick anymore. Some of these guys are building replica sticks, and they might just use it, nuclear weapons or aggression or pretty much anything else that makes the world fucking get into a conflict of perspectives. This is what we're talking about. You know what I mean? Good morning. So it's one of these things that we all have to be free mentally to see things how they really are instead of the way that we want them to be, even if it is gloomy. We'll have to look for the light in those situations, even if our friends are thinking it's our job to hook them up with a girlfriend and then time for a block right after. It's shocking to me, I'm still shocked by personal experiences, and then of course I'm shocked by political experiences, and I'm just sitting on the sideline, just another armchair quarterback that just so happens to go live every morning or every day, as much as every day, as long as I can, as long as I'm alive, to share these thoughts on my live and say, if this thing's on, to echo to the world and say, are you seeing the same thing? Are you seeing up this armament that looks like fucking the Nazis in World War II? And it's been 80 years of peace since these last big battles, and now they're coming back and wanting to get some of this dust too. We got to dust off our hands, and they want to catch these hands or catch all the smoke apparently. So I don't know, man. I've been just watching maybe too much of it, like one UAV, so they don't have a lot on deck, or maybe it's not even working, or maybe it's the fuel that they put in some of these nuclear warheads that have about like 10 of them inside of one fucking missile, and it could just spread out over any city or go under the water for 10,000 kilometers and just pop up and hit anywhere. Or what would we hit if we go to war and take out their Three Gorges Dam, or go inland and blow up a whole city? Hey, they took out our city, so we're going to take out their city. And then there goes the end of everybody trying to have babies and making the world a better place to live in. It's gloomy. Like I said, I've been, dreading the weather, and maybe, like I said, too much in my head. And I will get off this thing and go watch more YouTube videos and just totally obsess about this and see if this is a real threat. I lived in China for 5 months of my life. I put my eyes on it, and I'm telling you, they're small people. They're dirty people. They piss and shit in their own streets, and they have killed their environment. This is what it looks like in their world, except for these are real clouds. The other one is real pollution. And no wonder why they want to fucking send their kids overseas, especially if they're in politics and there's purging. They don't want their kids to get caught up in a gulag, similar like Xi Jinping, and he's a princeling, and do all these other things. This chick trying to open up her door or something. I'm not sure what that was all about, but that we can be in a situation where these Chinese send their people to America. I heard like in Irvine, California, where they can have their business in Singapore, make their money enough to live overseas, and they want to live in America. There's an infiltration of education and real estate and wealth transfer in businesses that we've never seen before. And all these people are international, so they're like, yeah, sure, I was born in China, but I live in Irvine, California, and I just want to smoke some weed like everybody else and chill the fuck out. It's amazing. They would never be able to smoke weed in communist China. They would be banned into a prison, and now they live in the California lifestyle, and they just want to smoke a little bit of bud, chill the fuck out, go to their local Whole Foods or Trader Joe's and live a normal life, and maybe own a nail salon or a massage parlor and get away with it. You know what I mean? Just pay their taxes and live overseas and feel safe. In our country, where the country they come from is polluting the world starting World War III and sizing up to be a bigger army than even America has in our Navy. So it's just one of these things that it perplexes me. It really did shock me. I'm not joking. I actually grabbed my friends. I said, look at this. Like I was watching 9/11 again, you know? I was like, watch, there comes this fucking plane. Here comes another one. I'm pointing it out like I'm watching a boxing match. And I'm like, watch for this left hook. Well, here comes the rope-a-dope, and here comes the okey doke, and here comes the uppercut, because we got to see a show of force that we haven't seen in over decades, bruv. Decades. I haven't seen anything like that, to see people that would fucking just start swinging and building and wanting to fucking catch the smoke. And I'm like, no, we don't want to be this way. We don't want to be in a world where there's so much hate and war and violence and possible destruction of prosperity and peace. This is something that's beyond me, and I keep doing things to make myself live a different reality, that I don't want to live in this type of world where this type of shit will happen. And is somebody coming? This shit will happen, and you know, all these things do happen. And then what's going to happen with our time? What are we going to spend our time on? Building up a war machine and continuing the war just to win it? That might take another 10 years, maybe. How long did World War II last? 42 to 45, 3 years maybe, no, 38. So yeah, I mean, like at least 5 years, and that means people in decline of their population, declines in economy, and I'll be there in Thailand just smoking my weed, chilling on the beach, because that's my plan. I told my friends when it was happening in 2012 that that was my plan. Have two girls sucking on each ball, a drink in the hand, and I don't even drink, and a weed in the other, and just watch the apocalypse happen from the beach. Seems like still my exit plan after 2012 to 2025. That's 8 plus 5. That's 13 years ago I had this plan, and now I gotta dust off this apocalypse, gloomy and doomy, like I said, for this morning's motivation. It's a wrap, you know. It's enough to miss the bus, and we all have something that calls upon us to say, how do I want to live my life? What life do I want to live on? What type of planet do we want to live? And then it's like, you know, you get an Elon Musk, it'll be like, maybe a second planet's in order. And when we get to the second planet, are we going to have wars up there with our space force and tungsten rods of God coming down and just blowing up things with so much force and velocity that it was almost like a nuclear bomb in itself? And God forbid we actually use another nuclear bomb that haven't touched in almost 80 years, and that would be devastation, because I'm sure it wouldn't just be one. The first time we did it in 2, and God forbid we do it again too. So it's just one of those things where I don't want to live on this world like that. I'll be on the beach in Thailand slipping my Mai Tai, smoking my weed, and watching it all go by. I'll be on the best part of the planet when it's the healthiest and the bestest place I can be. That's what I do. I go around the world and breathe this fresh air and go places with my determination and stay peaceful and healthy as much as possible. I think every human being wants that. We need space. We need love. We need growth, and that's what makes us human. Without that, there's too much restriction. There's too much going on in the world where there's so much devastation that we all tend to fade away into the degeneracy of things, the worst case scenarios, and trying to outwit each other instead of living our blessed life and doing something with our lives and growing from that space that we created and grow some love. That's what everybody wants, peace and love. That's why I say it every day. We want some peace in our world. We want to have love in our world so we can make some children so they can grow up and do the same, you know, without missiles over their head or nuclear weapons in our water or hate in our hearts, because then it's going to make us suspicious. It's going to make us pessimistic. It's going to make us prejudice, and in prejudice you'll never get people at their happiest. You'll never be fully aware. You'll always have a blind side to the dark side and be like, okay, well, that's the way that Chinese people are, or there's a caste system in India, or who's friends with who can I be friends with, instead of just going to the bar and enjoying your free time I'm going, and my friends are like 2 times they've been into our country, and it might be a third that Russia will invade here in Finland, and they're totally prepared. So it's one of these things that we don't want to talk about and we don't want to see, but it's happening left, right, and straight, and it's not okay. It's not okay for us to be paranoid. It's not okay to always be gloomy and doomy. It's not okay to have these situations make us not okay. You know, it's okay to not be okay, but our planet, the people on those planets, and using military force to enforce these things, this is not okay. So it's one of these things where it's dooming my day. It's been in my head constantly, and I'm trying my best to plastic pocket challenge y'all to fight back against the dying of the light, like we all like to say, you know, and do something with our day instead of being pessimistic every which way or every time something doesn't go our way, and live a life that's worth living and smiling and going outside. You know, it's worth everything to us, you know, the life that we have, you know, to be a family and build one, and spend your time with your loved ones and give them a space to launch and do something with their energy and the next life. You know, that's what it is. It's the next life, to give it to the future generations, to say, hey, you know, we all can live, you know, we can all build families, we can all build planets if we want to, and a population without religion or war or pessimism. That would be an awesome future I would love to live in, you know. I don't know if it's possible. I know we'll probably get to another planet and we'll be interplanetary species, which would be tremendous, and I'm sure we'll hit AGI and the robots will do all the dull, dirty, and dangerous jobs. That's cool too. But at the same time, people are like, what am I going to do in the meantime? What if I get replaced by AI and I don't know how to work it, and what's going to happen with it? I get so many people that I call when I'm cold calling them for NSEC.ai and say not interested, but at the same time, their competitors are using it, or they've already bought it, or they got a widget or some form of it. We've been using it the whole time. You call your phone right now, and it's the voicemail system. That's AI. You know what I mean? Like, it's artificial intelligence saying, hey, after you leave this message, I'll have a beep, and then, you know, someone records it and I can play it back and pause it and do all these other things that most voicemail systems lack. So it's one of these things where, you know, life is happening whether we like it or not. You know, it's going to be the weather, whether you like it or not. You don't get to determine these things, neither do I. You know, the weather is the weather, you know, and the lie is the lie, and whatever you do with your time will dictate how time goes by. So it's not like you get to be so controlling. You know, I didn't ask for it to be fully gray today. Matter of fact, I saw some sunshine earlier, and it was nice to hear the rain last night. But this too shall pass. It doesn't always stay the same. You know, weather changes, and so does perspectives, and so do human beings. We grow, and hopefully we grow and learn from all our mistakes instead of repeating them and watching World War III take place, because we already did that and we killed millions of people. And it's like, what? So we can say who has what line in the sand, so we can fight over islands, and I'll be on the other island just smoking my weed, trying to enjoy things so it can be away from all this negativity. That's what I'm thinking, man. It's just such a trip. Maybe it's the weather. Maybe it's the gloomy and the doomy that's made me so introspective, but I've been living like this for the last couple of days, ever since I saw that a military parade in China, and I was just like, oh no, they want this smoke. They want to be in cahoots with Russia and North Korea, and everybody of them wants to make Ukraine disappear and South Korea disappear and Taiwan disappear. Everybody's jockeying for position, and that's how far we've come as a human race in the 21st century. It's 2025, and this is going to go by like this, and then they got less than a year or 2 years left for 2027, when they'll probably invade Taiwan. And what will America do about it? And even if they invade, would the semiconductor business still be standing, or would they implode all of their ports, all of their factories, and make it horrible for China to come aboard and make a pariah state out of China, and everybody have some hate, and soon pulling people from their bodegas, and I've seen it happen when it was 9/11, and Middle Eastern people had some hate come their way, and people thought that even me, to this day, they still call me Taliban. You know, it's one of those things. It's just, we as human beings, we are a weird, fickle creature on a very special planet. You know, we're allowed to have oxygen, we're allowed to have water, and all the things that create life, and then all these things that were given us the chance to have life and create other life. What do? We squander it. We find ways to build machines that kill life and kill factories and kill whole cities, and we wonder why we're not moving ahead as a civilization or as a human population. So that's this morning's marijuana motivation. Without any weed, I'm just in the gloomies and having these conversations. I haven't smoked in 3 days, and I just wanted to chill, let my brain function without me, and make something happen that is I'll be grateful for in the future. And that's what ends up happening. So Plastic Pocket Challenge, y'all. Make sure you get out there and vote, change, grow while you still can, because life be happening fast, y'all. And before we know it, the whole world order could switch up, and then we'll all have a different conversation, sure enough. So that's this morning's motivation. If you got anything out of this, you already know. Peace and love. And as always, Chigaton. That means goodbye, but not forever and finish. And I will see you on the other side as soon as you like, share, and subscribe. The other side of your fear, the other side of your excuses, and the other side of the world, because that's where I'll be. Peace.